All right, welcome everybody. It's Doug here with the LincolnList.com. This is the Stock Market Weekly Review for the 22nd of February. Hope all is well with you. Hard to believe that it's almost the end of February. The first 2 months of the year are almost history, and we're seeing a really good market. There's a lot of opportunities, and in my mind, in my opinion, you got a lot more opportunities now than you were in that 2 to 3 year melt-up period of trending. Some people are going to disagree with me, but I'm telling you, if you're flexible, there's a lot more opportunities. So let's kind of look at what we can expect this week. We started last week by talking about how important the relevance of this 181 was to the support of the overall market, at least in the short term. And this was a pretty good support going all the way back to 2013. So this was an important number, and we kind of expected a bounce there. But this bounce just kind of shot right up there, and it's been a little bit more than what I kind of expected. I expected maybe it would last for 2 to 3 days, but we've seen a little bit more. If we kind of look at the daily chart here, we've seen quite a few days. I'll open it up just a little bit more. You know, a good solid run up. Now we're starting to approach the pivot highs from the latter part of January. This was the resistance that we've already talked about, this 194.5 to 195. So let's kind of see where we go. I think what you're going to get here is the market's going to need some sort of digestion period. This is a pretty strong rally off the bottom. As I said, I expected it to kind of exhaust itself out around the 188s, but it continued up for a couple of more days, and now you're approaching this 194.5 to 195. Let's kind of pay attention to that because the 50 moving average on the daily chart is connecting with that. So that will be at least the short-term resistance. If it kind of floats up here for a couple of days and then breaks through that, we might see a push towards 200. The way that it acts up in this level is going to tell a little bit more of the story. If it's unable to really recapture that soon, you're probably going to see a small sell-off. As I said, I kind of expect something to happen towards that effect throughout this week. You've had a long movement up here, a lot of strong movement up, and you're probably going to need a couple of days here to kind of digest this move and digest some of this rally before we can really get a clear indication. No matter what, as the future stands, your shorter term levels are this 194.5 to 195 to the upside and 182 to the downside. Whichever one, at some point in the future, you're going to have one of those breach, and we're going to see perhaps a bigger move to the upside or an exaggerated move to the downside. But right now, at least for the most of this year, this is the level that we're dealing with. So kind of look for 195 up, 182 down. Now, this has created what I think is going to open up some great opportunities for some stocks, because some of these things bounced righteously off of the bottom. I mean, they put in some serious rallies, some 30 to 40% over just a few periods. What I'm looking at here is CAVM, C-A-V-M. This thing was 46 bucks when the market was down towards its bottom. Since the market has rallied, you've almost got about a $12 to $13 gain. And again, just like the market, you're approaching a very important resistance level close to this 50 moving average on the daily chart, which is just a shade under 60. So you're sitting here at 58 and a quarter. I think as you pay attention a little bit closer to that number, if this thing was to spike earlier, the beginning portions of the week, up towards that 60 resistance, I think it's a must short. I think it's a short here anyway, but I like the way this chart has moved up. You got a really strong V-shaped rally on this, so I'm looking to really get aggressive with the short here, especially working off of 60, something connected maybe a little bit lower down into these moving average. A lot of it will depend on the market, but I think you're going to see 54 here in this stock coming up. Another one is BDC, and you know what, a lot of these charts, they're all the same. You know, a lot of these have V-shaped recoveries that went right along with the market because we're getting sold off heavy, and then when the market rallies, a lot of these have gone up. In my opinion, the way I'm looking at these technically, which may end up being incorrect, but some of these look to me like they've just been maybe just a little too much, and we can take advantage of a pullback. BDC, here's one. You're up at 12 bucks, a pretty significant percentage on this one coming right off the bottom. Now, this is earnings related, so this one could be a little bit more strong, but now you're kind of floating up here after 3 to 4 strong days. This rally's lasted a little bit longer. You know, just going all the way back from the 9th, so there's some depth to this one. But we're going to look for some weakness here or shorting generally off of any kind of pops. You never know if the stock, once it's going running for, one of the things people think is you just short a stock because it's up a lot. That's not necessarily true. You can look at a stock and have an idea for it, but what we like to do is short them off of these early morning spikes. You know, if you're able to begin the morning with the spikes, if you look just over the last couple of days at my charts on the top, you have these rallies that start in the morning. This one's not as vertical, But nonetheless, once they rally in the morning, there's always a pullback generally within 30 to 40 minutes. And this was a good one here with the way that it was acting on Friday, where you got these pops, drops down into support, goes vertical again, drops back down into the moving average. So these are predictable pieces of rhythm that make it for you. If you're an intraday trader, if you're swing trading or investing, it's completely different. But if you're intraday trading, you've got a lot of opportunity in a stock that acts like this, that's predictable with the way it's moving. It's getting shorted or it's getting sold off of these parabolics. It's selling after that, and it's bouncing off of some of the support, so it's a predictable way to play. At some point, I think you're going to see a red day. I prefer to be short on any of these pops, just in case one of them actually loses support. You could be talking about a very nice size trade. I expect this one to go back down towards the 50s sometime towards this week, and maybe even lower down into the 48s. Another one that kind of popped up on the radar that provided a really good trade late, if you were following on Twitter, was this UAL. I would have naturally just shorted this thing anyway off of this ramp up. This is one of my favorite trades, is when a stock just really starts to gear up. And again, I'm not against any longs whatsoever, saying that a stock, when you're shorting a stock, that it's a piece of crap. No, it's not that. There's always this thing about time versus price, if you've listened to these videos before. And, they start out as a really good trend. Like, this is a good looking flag breakout. It's a nice tight flag breakout with some nice range. But then once it starts gearing up here, it's like you can tell people are starting to chase it. And it's just not really, the smart trader's not buying it up here in the 54.50s. They're down here on the breakout or prior to the breakout. That's where your long is. Not once all these candles are kind of ripping up here. But it was a good looking short with a really, really nice fade. Took a little while, but that sometimes happens with the volume on a Friday. What really got it, once I started getting into it and look at the daily chart, I'm like, wow, this is just another one of those stocks, 45 to 55 in a short period of time. I mean, as I said, you got a lot of these stocks with multiple day greens. I'm just bringing up a couple of them to you. I mean, there's a ton. I mean, just about every single stock looks like this, with a strong rally off the bottom. And just in theory throughout this week, looking for some sort of a market pullback to take advantage of them. Some of these will turn out to be a lot better than the others. Who knows? Maybe it doesn't work. Maybe they just flag and trade sideways and re-gear and start going back up higher even again. We don't know that. But I think with this rally, it's opening up the opportunity to be a little bit more aggressive to the short side, especially some of these that have 5 to 6 days worth of run-ups. They're a little bit long in the tooth. Last, I'm going to put NHTC. This thing percent-wise is, just looks just like UAL, right? I mean, you just got a mega move on this percentage. I mean, this is from 20 to 32 here. Percent-wise, that's a pretty big move for this stock. Now, this one's just kind of clustering around the moving average. It looked a lot better on Thursday than it did Friday. You got a little bit of a red there. And, I kind of thought this one was just going to roll over back down into the 25.60s. But, Friday here kind of geared itself back up. So this could be building a flag for a higher test, maybe into the 35. That remains to be seen. You've got a little bit of issue running around this 33.20s to the 33.97. So I think if you get into that area and you start to see volume coming into the sell side, or you start to see some resistance in there, this is possibly, this would be, in my opinion, a very good short setup. You could control your risk nicely working off of this 34, and then possibly getting this little shorter term support of 29 broken, trading down into some of the nearer term moving averages of 25 to 23. So kind of look for that up here to the top if this is what you're interested in. Now, if you want to long to something like this, if you get a couple of days that trade sideways here and this little short term support of 28.72 holds and flags, you might see a move to 35 to 40 again. If the market wants to do that as well, break that 195, you might see a second gear up into this rally. So what I'm thinking here, this overall picture to sum it up, is we kind of thought there would be a rally. It's gone a little bit farther than what I thought it was. I was only expecting maybe 2 to 3 days, and it's really been kind of impressive. Now you're coming back up into some other critical areas to the upside. So it's going to be very important the way that it trades throughout this week and the way it handles those levels. It'll give us the clues that we need to say, are we going back into the 200s, or are we going to go sell back off? I think when you look at a lot of these stocks individually, they look almost like a straight mirror of the SPY. So many of these stocks have been the benefactor of running up during this rally. And if the rally fades or it takes a moment of digestion, then I think you've got some really legitimate, some of the better short setups here, and it could be a fantastic week. So we're going to see what happens. Maybe everything I said just doesn't turn out at all, and a different plan has to take place. That's the way it goes sometimes. Anyway, let's leave it at that. If you guys need help with your trading, you're not quite understanding what's going on, or you're struggling a little bit, you're trying to go to another level, you're trying to work on your game, and it takes more than stock charts and hot setups. You got to have the psychology, you got to be able to think on your feet, you got to be able to alter your game plans and adjust your theories at any given minute, at any given second. And the ones that are able to do that the best are the strongest traders that'll be around in bull and bear markets. So if you're kind of struggling, you're looking for a community, you want to go to another level with your trading, visit thelinkenlist.com, take a 14-day free trial, see if what we do is beneficial to helping you get to your goals. Otherwise, thanks for watching this video. Take care of yourself. Talk to you soon.